This is Awakening Dreams by Raw, a podcast about ordinary people living and searching their true authentic purposes. I'm your host, Elle Cheng, champion for authentic connection, where every person deserves to be seen and heard. In today's episode, we have Lilian Ong, founder of women empowering platforms, Class Living and Women of Courage Asia. She'll be sharing with us her journey of awakening courage and breaking fear barriers. Welcome, Lilian.
Hi, thank you for the invitation to your show.
Thank you so much. I mean, I feel really honored that you are on this. You're coming onto this show. How I met Lilian is actually through one of her Women of Courage events. So I was really curious. Like this woman, she just seems fearless, and I know that you have a lot of story to share with us today, and I hope that can inspire some of our listeners.
Sure. As I mentioned to you, I'm an open book. So
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so Lilian, maybe you can start with sharing how would you describe yourself? Use a few attributes to describe yourself.
describe myself. Actually, there's okay. It's funny that I will use an animal. Yeah, but sometimes I find myself like an elephant.
Oh.
Yeah, it can be very stubborn. So when an elephant chooses to sit and doesn't move, nobody can move an elephant. But when the elephant decided to move, yeah, it can move huge obstacles that you never thought that it can be removed. And yes, the elephant moves slow but powerful. Yeah. So that's sometimes when I heard someone describe how the elephant is like, I said, that's me.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I love that you have a spirit animal.
The other one is actually a lioness rather. Yeah, because the lioness is not afraid to embrace her own strength. Yeah, and the lioness works in a pack, in a team. There's a lot of teamwork. They take care of the cubs together. They hunt together. Yeah, they protect together. Yeah, so I'm a team player. So I love the lioness strength. Yeah. So that's the other animal that I kind of see myself in it. Yeah.
So it's a combination of elephant and a lioness. With my visual mind, right? I'm imagining like some mythical animal. This is the new mythical animal that represents Lilian.
Yeah.
Would you say you are, when it comes to slow, being powerful, being, a team player, would you describe yourself this when you were younger? Like, were you like that all this while?
No. Yeah. No. I think when I was younger, if I would to describe, I would think more like a rabbit, always hiding in the barrel, in a hole. Yeah. When I was younger, I like to keep everything to myself. Yeah. And I don't like to speak up. And my grandfather actually thought that I was mute, like, why this girl doesn't talk, Yeah, so and because there was a lot of fear, because something happened at the age of 5. So, I mean, I'm okay to share this into that event. If that's okay?
Yes.
Yeah. So the reason I was very, very quiet when I was younger was because at the age of 5 or 6, around that time, yeah, I was being molested by distant cousins. Yeah, they're just boys and experimenting. So I just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. Yeah, and being experimented. Yeah. So, but because of that incident, the adults were quarreling. They were shouting at each other, and I think as a young child, I felt, of course, that event was traumatizing for me. I don't know what happened, but I know that my privacy was being invaded, and I can also sense a lot of fear because the adults quarreling and shouting at each other. I don't know what's happening, but I feel that it's my fault. So from then on, I was very quiet. Yeah, I'm very quiet.
So you were traumatized and you felt that this probably was your fault. How did you, so what was that journey like from being a quiet, traumatized girl to developing, getting your strength and voice and power back? Probably is a very long journey.
Yeah, I think I found my space, my own personal space in stories. So, I love stories. And so I live in the world of stories. And because of that, the teacher, I think I was also like being selected by the teachers, to go for storytelling. And as I embark on that whole experience of storytelling, I didn't know that probably I was good at it, and so the teacher liked to pick me to represent the school or class or things like that. And so I begin to live in this world of stories.
So how
I
does
find joy in that. I only speak up when I'm telling stories.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how did that discovery impacted you? So you started doing a lot of storytelling, and then moving on from there, were there any other awakening journeys, where you start to find yourself?
Actually, that journey brought joy to me. Like, I was like hiding in this world of stories, fantasies and on stories. But it went into a dip at the age of 10.
Okay.
Yeah, because one of the teacher that I remember I was 25, and the teacher picked me out to lead the school in this leading the school to recite the national anthem. So I was, we the citizen of Singapore. And then I went blank. I totally went blank. And that's where, my heart started pumping. It pumped so hard that I felt that it's like popping out. I held my breathing was so heavy, so fast that I was like breathless. I couldn't catch my breath because it's so rapid. And my hands were started to shake and my knees started turning jelly. And that's where I felt like looking for a hole to jump into it, because all eyes were on me. And of course, the school, we recite the national pledge every morning, right? So they know how to continue. But to make things worse, the teacher who selected me came up to me after that and told me, "Hey girl, tomorrow, no need to do it again." So that's where my confidence went from this high to 6 feet under. And from then onwards, right, I have this extreme fear of public speaking. Every time someone asks me to stand out and share something, even just in a small group or just a few people, I will have that same reaction. My heart will start pumping, my breath, the hands turn jelly, the knees turn jelly and all that. Yeah. So I totally stopped storytelling. I stopped any form of public speaking. Yeah.
How did that feel? I mean, you enjoyed storytelling and then you stopped.
Well, it's like the whole world crashed, because that was the only outlet I had as a child. And yeah, now reflecting back on it, it was like there's nothing else. There's nothing that motivates me to articulate, to speak up.
To how did you find another outlet then?
Well, I discovered another outlet that is physical exercise, sports. So in secondary school, I joined the basketball team. Yes, I'm very petite, but I was still able to. The only position I could play was the forward because of the speed. Yeah, so I was the coach trained me in speed and long distance shoot. And yeah, so that became my outlet for any negative energy. Yeah, so I was so focused, and that was for the next 3 years in set 1 to set 3. Yeah, that's why my only memory, right, my most vivid memory of my secondary school days was basketball.
Oh.
Because in the basketball team, and because my secondary school was very competitive in the basketball, always had the championship, so you need to maintain that championship position. So it was very, very intensive training. I would say it's like the 魔鬼训练, the devil, it's very intensive kind of training. Yeah, it's crazy. But that kept me in that sphere, yeah, in releasing and I don't have to really talk much, yeah, I just need to use my physical energy. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So tell me more about how did you start this Women of Courage Asia? It's like this is a women empowerment group where I hear there's so much difference, right? From when you were like a rabbit to now it's about helping others to find courage.
Yeah. I think, of course, after that secondary school's period, I went to poly and then encountered some BGR issues, so actually attempted suicide because of that. Yeah, facing betrayal and on a relationship failure, it's very new to it, and when you give all, right? It's like the whole heart out, and when betrayal came, but I think I was very angry with myself because I was angry for making those choices, those decisions that I knew actually had the instinct that no, you shouldn't go ahead, but you still went ahead. That's why I was very angry with myself. So this anger started building up. Angry that why am I being the one who was, at the younger age being molested? Why am I such a failure in not, getting frozen, going blank in leading the national pledge? And also actually in secondary 3, I also failed my A math, So again, I was like blaming myself, like, why am I so stupid, like, can't even handle A math, So there's a lot of self-blame, and beating myself up and very angry with myself for not standing up or for not speaking up or for not making the right decisions. And then to build on to that, motherhood came in later on, which I went into a cycle of depression. Yeah. So that depression I was always having suicidal thoughts, and then having thoughts like throwing the baby against the wall or throwing the baby down the building. And then always like whenever I'm standing at high places, I always have this urge to jump, or when I'm at the crossroad, I always have this urge to just go out and let the car hit you, and so it's like it's very abnormal to have such thoughts, and all this keep building up lah. And I went through my first pregnancy alone because my husband was training overseas, so resentment unknowingly builds up as well. He only came back before the delivery, and then he did his best to be as hands-on as possible, but I couldn't see it because I was like, why must I have to go through this alone, and all the negative voices that starts clouding me and blurring my judgment. So until I remember the breaking point came when I was standing at the balcony looking out, I was actually contemplating how to end my life again. And so I thought, okay, maybe I just go back to the room and take a last look at the kids. By then, I actually have 2. The second one was a baby. The first one just still a toddler. So, but babies when they sleep, their body, their stomach go up and down, up and down. It's very therapeutic. So I was watching them for a while, and then I totally forgotten about my attempt to end my own life. But I was still feeling very tired, because by that point in my life, right, I'm not only physically tired, mentally tired, emotionally tired as well. So I went over to the playroom and I just dropped myself down on the mat. And I was so tired. I just remembered I just started to weep. And then the weeping go on to a bit of crying. And then I realized that I began to wail. I was starting to wail, and I feel a tsunami of emotions start erupting from inside. I couldn't even describe what are the emotions, because it's like it's just emotions that had suppressed for the longest time. But there's one particular emotion that was very evident, and it was anger. I feel like anger, yeah. And I mean, all this is after reflection that I realized is angry about with myself. Yeah. So all this why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? All these questions just hit me, and I just cry and cry. I remember I lie there for don't know how long, probably half an hour to an hour, just crying and crying until I almost fell asleep. I was so dead tired, exhausted, and finally just say, I don't know how to help myself anymore. You help me. You know, you help me. I don't know how to help myself anymore. So that was the turning point. When after that, the next day, you know, my neighbor approached me because she saw me. You know, I was a walking zombie at that stage. You know, very expected routine. Send the kids to the nursery, you know, go to the supermarket, after a certain time bring them to the playground, you know. I was like going on this very mundane routine, day in, day out. Yeah. So she came in and broke that cycle. She came in and broke that cycle. So the first break was when I decided to surrender. And that, you know, okay, and acknowledge that, okay, I don't know how to help myself. I need help. And that's I call out to God, you know, or the universe or whatever higher power you name it. But to me, it was God. And then following after that, the neighbor came and broke that cycle. Yeah, so she invited me to her home. She's a teacher, so she invited me to her home to bring the kids along to play together. You know, have do some projects, you know, craft work, whatever. Children's work together. And I knew in my heart that I know this is some form of help. And it took me a lot of struggle. I was struggling to step out because I would rather be solitary. I would rather stay by myself, yeah, and don't engage. But yet at the back of my mind, I know that I need help. I call out for help. And this looks like help. Okay. So I just, you know, just drag myself to go along with it. Yeah, and that was the beginning of that healing process. Yeah, we started organizing, you know, activities, lots and lots of activities. Yeah, and started building relationship with the moms, and then more moms came, and then, you know, it became a connecting mothers support group. And then, yeah, and then I went on to, you know, pick up reading again, you know, read the Bible, read personal development, self-help books, spiritual books, you know, and started going back to church, drag my kids along, two crying, screaming kids, you know. I just go, because I know I need to plant myself in a positive environment. Yeah, and for me, church was a positive environment. So I just dragged the two kids along with me, even though they're screaming at the back of the car seat. Yeah. And that process, the reading, the going to the positive environment. So all this support, external support, add on to the healing process. I started to paste post-it notes all around my home, places where every morning where I wake up, the first thing I see is the positive scripture, positive note here, a positive note there. So it's a visual reminder for me. Yeah, and then the next thing that follow, you know, when you step out, you know, the door just opened. The next thing was a business opportunity that came along.
Wow.
So I struggled with that to step out because I studied real estate management. So if I were to go back to the workforce, going back into the real estate industry is easier for me. Okay. But to start a furnishing business that's totally unknown to me is a challenge.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I pause you there about that furnishing business because there's so many things that is so powerful that I need to unpack it for a while.
Okay.
So you talked about the years and years of hidden anger towards yourself. And the anger was inwards.
Mm.
And without resolving that, like starting from your 5-year-old trauma, to all these traumatic incidents. And then it actually reached a point where you were so, I don't know what's the word, but yeah, basically angry with yourself that you had suicidal thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, as a mom, having thoughts that want to throw your baby against the wall and throw the baby down the building, I think that is, I cannot forgive myself for even having that thought.
Yeah. So for that, during then it didn't occur to you that you needed help.
No, yeah. I mean,
How
I'm
how
already
did you?
stuck in
Oh,
that cycle. Yeah, I didn't know how to. Yeah, I didn't know how to seek help, and I was a very prideful person, strong
mm,
will. That
mm,
I can handle this. I'm in control. Yeah, I think control is the word. I feel that
mm.
everything is still under control. I'm in control.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay. I can handle. I can
I can
control.
handle. Yeah.
Okay, but then those thoughts came,
Mm,
and yeah, and you mentioned about you are in that cycle, and then you also mentioned a few times that that neighbor came and helped you break the cycle. Tell me
yeah.
about this. Yeah, why is it so important that someone actually came in to break that cycle?
Mm. Um, break it. It takes sometimes. I mean, it takes when someone is in that cycle. We are not aware. Like I wasn't aware that I was in depression. I mean, all these right is upon reflection after
Mm,
on the hindsight.
mm,
Yeah. So when I was in it, I wasn't aware. All I know is I don't like to interact with anyone. I just want
mm,
to be on my own. Don't kind of
mm,
disturb me. I don't want to talk. I just in that routine. Yeah, I'm just very feel very safe in just going through that routine.
mm,
Yeah, going through the motion.
yeah,
Yeah. So
and
it's it's, I'm thankful that um the neighbor approached me and took a external party to break that cycle. Yeah.
mm, mm,
But on the hindsight again, when I reflected back, it actually the cycle broke when I did the acknowledgement in the playroom. Yeah,
mm,
that was actually the first break of the cycle.
mm,
Because I have been holding on to the control. I
mm,
was refusing to let go and surrender. I
mm,
was still holding on to the control.
mm.
So
Holding
once
on to something that you think you can control, which is going
I
through the same cycle again and again, right? Like if anything
yeah,
come in that's outside of this routine, is you feel out of control already. So that's why
yeah,
you will be even more entrenched in that cycle.
yeah. And if any of my friends were to check on me and ask me, how are you? I'll just put on a smile. Everything is okay. So it's
Mm.
like, I'm in control. Everything is okay. Everything is fine.
Mm.
But everything is not fine inside here. And inside here, it's not fine. But I just refuse to acknowledge that